How you doing? Hi everybody and welcome back to Educatedcollins Snap channel. We're going to be doing like a Marvel Snap game review, I guess, just like reviewing some of the stuff. We're going to be doing it like a feels good, feels bad format. So this is like a subjective opinion about some concepts in the game and whether I like it or not. Hopefully it's not like too crazy, but let's begin. Alright, so this was kind of like an evolution of a different video I wanted to make, but essentially we're going to be reviewing some aspects of the game, and I just have like, oh, does this part feel good? Does this part feel bad? Just kind of a blank statement. Obviously, everything is gray. Everything feels question mark, really, but this is just like my personal opinion about some aspects of the game, just whether I think it's feels good to play, feels good to interact with, or not. So I'm definitely going to be missing some things. So I just kind of made a list of some aspects of the game and just had snap opinions, that kind of thing. And then generally we'll have more details that I'll go over, but that's kind of the idea of this video, and we'll see how it goes. So first things off, right, you have to talk about the gameplay loop. If I'm going to make a video like this, I think the gameplay loop is good, right? The base from the game is good. That's why we play it. It's fun. Playing at the same time makes it interesting, makes it quick. The snap mechanic adds a nice degree of thoughts into what you want to do, how you play each match out, blah, blah, blah. Definitely think the gameplay loop still feels good. Nothing wrong with that. Now, gameplay metas in particular, I wouldn't say it always feels bad, but it often does, right? Like this one is pretty notable with the Allied Galactus, right? Those kind of things, those broken metas, right? We've had a lot of them with Zabu, with Shuri, with Thanos, right? Like we do tend to go from something being broken into broken into broken. I think that's just how the game design works, where people will just gravitate towards what's very powerful, and usually the very powerful things are hard to counter, right? So I don't think the meta in itself is bad, but just how gamers play the game and create metas, I generally say definitely tends to be bad feeling often, with that. So just keep in mind. I think once you break away from that, if you're not thinking about like high level gameplay and stuff like that, it's generally fine. But even at lower levels, like the high level metas will influence things dramatically. So it still matters there. Then we're going to have variant split effects. These are just, I do think if I put like variants in the game, that feels good. Like having the ability to change your card splits is not bad. So probably I should have put something in front, like just variants existing. That feels good. Like I like being able to ink my things. Some people like golding. Some people like have super shiny stuff. Some people like having lots of variants, right? So this deserves like another post here. Like variance in itself feels good, like that feels good, but the split effects I would say not that great. Players really only care about gold or ink splits. So, and then the majority of the splits aren't that great. Like the a lot of the splits like mess with the backgrounds and doesn't feel super good. But splits in itself definitely good. The lack of unique split options, you can't go back into borders at the moment, something I think could be improved, right? So this isn't like, I'm not just trying to like say all these things are bad, da, 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 da. I'm just like saying, oh, these things could be better if you do that kind of thing, or these things are something you want to think about when like working on resources into improving the game, that kind of thing. Like I think splits are something a lot of people care about, and just adjusting some things, making people able to choose the borders, stuff like that, that could go a long way in terms of like how people enjoy the game and how they play it out. So just want to mention that. Next up, weekend missions. I think weekend missions feel pretty good. I really liked what they did this recent one where they had gold for everyone. That definitely feels good. Makes because I just think credits as a reward, like 200 credits, is so meaningless. Like it doesn't do anything at all for you. Where I think gold is very helpful, and a lot of times the weekend missions just kind of feel like a season pass plus, in that a lot of times you need to get the season pass to play with the new card, and then also a lot of times getting the season pass lets you get like the new cards more frequently. So a lot of times if you're not buying season pass, you don't get the new spotlight card. So it feels pretty blah. But I think having a reward that gives everyone gold, just think it's good for everyone. So think for now, weekend mission's been a good idea. Happy they reverted the 3-day to 2-day change. I think that wasn't super good. So definitely feels great. I think the rank leaderboard feels good as well. This was something I was surprised with. When it came out, I didn't think it would matter, but I definitely see a lot of people like tryharding, and I have been playing as well, just seeing what people go for. And I do think obviously some people are not gonna like the rank leaderboard, think it's maybe like uninspired, but humans just like numbers going up, numbers going down. It's not really it's not surprising that a lot of people do care, and I've definitely seen some reactions from streamers and stuff, just been feeling like it's a lot competitive. Another thing is that following it is like there's no bots in high level rank play, which is really good. I think that is something we've been asking for forever, and happy to see that happen, where you can see everyone you're playing with is ranked in some way, so they have to be some type of human. I would be surprised if there's a high rank bot. Like that would be funny. But yeah, generally, also a nice thing is that there's crossplay between servers. I think that's also a really good change, where streamers, you definitely see more streamers playing against other streamers, right? A lot of the high rank streamers can now get each other, where before they were kind of locked into their own separate like server regions. So I think this has been good. Definitely seeing more players, and a lot of times the high level players are like generally nice. They're not super toxic. So yeah, definitely think it's pretty cool to see this. Something I probably need to make its own video about is just the lack of series drops. I think this obviously feels bad. Last drop was 4 months ago, essentially on May 16th. So definitely, it's been a while since we've seen them. There's not much news about series drops. It feels like they're definitely considering what to do with series drops, whether they stop doing it forever, or if it's in like a very small, like 1 drop per month or something like that. But yeah, definitely obviously feels bad for them to not have series drops anymore. I think it was really helpful. I will say, like, you're still able to get things without series drops. It's just like less freedom, and we'll talk about it for sure. But I will say this does feel better. And on the same reign, this choose your card series 3 progression feels bad for players that have, for a lot of players that are series 3 complete, right? This doesn't do anything for them. So without the series drops, many players, this has not been available. When this was introduced, it was like, oh, everybody's going to get advantage from this, because every time we drop, you get to choose a new card. But now without the drops, right, this is just dead, and I haven't been able to get any card from this for four months essentially. Well, three or so, essentially. But yeah, definitely not great. I will say, if you are a newer player without Series 3, this still works fine. So it's not all bad, but for, this is a personal opinion, right? I'll say it feels bad for me for sure. The Spotlight system acquisition, I would actually say feels good. So once again, this is a personal opinion, and I know this is probably contentious here, but I do think cards can be acquired with strategy. So, for me, right, you can see I make the videos with all the bundles and everything, and the tier list, right? So I'm pretty strategic about how I get the cards, and I would say that I've gotten pretty much all the new cards that I wanted, right? And I definitely know some people are hoarding tokens, they're hoarding reserves, and they're still getting all the cards they want to play with. I definitely think if you were to use your tokens, use your reserves, and just like use all your resources that you get, as long as you're getting the season pass, you could pretty much get most of the new cards that you want. Like, I don't think you'd have trouble getting pretty much all the new cards you want. So I think, like, overall, Spotlight system acquisition rate has been good, but I do think there are some issues with the Spotlight system, which we'll go over later, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So first thing, right, let's think the Spotlight variants are a little bit bad. So first of all, getting a new card variant, so getting, like, if a card is new or released, right, if you want to get the variant of that card, it takes a minimum of 5 Spotlights. So for most players, that's unreasonable. Like I can't spend 5 spotlights on a new variant like that. Like even if I wanted it. And then there's also like the quality of the variants I feel has dropped off. This is once again very subjective, but this is personal thing. Like Dan hit variants supposed to be 700 gold. Like almost everyone, all the Dan hit variants are 700 gold. Why are they spotlight variants? It should not be spotlight variants. Baby variants, same thing. They're pretty much always 700 gold. Why are they spotlight variants? Right, and then I just think like they initially said that these spotlight variants would be variants that would have been put for ultimate variants, right? Those 5,000 token variants, those were what all the spotlights were supposed to be, and I really don't feel like that's what the variants are. Like I think some of them, like especially the first week, right, with Jean Grey, Null, and Living Tribunal, I agree with those. Right, that one was very high level variants, all three of them. But I think they've kind of been slacking a little bit. And then we also saw High Evolutionary getting a repeat of Spotlight variants, which they said they wouldn't do. Definitely think they did say like, oh, we're sorry about that. We just didn't have the time or the resources, blah, blah, blah. But still, like, it just means that, it's not a priority to make sure that the Spotlight variants are super, super ultimate level quality every time, and as well as with like the Dan Hib variants being in there, it's just like, I wouldn't necessarily, like, from a personal opinion, I wouldn't say the Spotlight variants are like doing super great. Next up, we have the Collector's Reserves. I think the Collector's Reserves feel bad. There was recently a post about someone opening 100 caches, and they really didn't get that much rewards, right? They got 8 gold tickets, 30 cosmetics, 25 100 tokens, and then 15 150 credits, that kind of thing, and 22 20, like they got some credits and some stuff. It just wasn't very meaningful. I would say basically they didn't get too much, and it's just like there isn't like a meaningful reason to open Collector's Reserve at the moment. If you want to save them, like you can. Obviously, if you need to get everything, or you need to open some to get some credits so you can get a spotlight or something like that, you should definitely do that. Make sure that you're using your reserves to get some reward. But if you just want to save, you're not like losing. It's not like the craziest loss at the end of the day, which I think is sad because Collector's Reserves should be like interesting to open, right? Like a lot of people used to be like very excited when they got a Series 4 or Series 5 from the Collector's Reserves, right? You go to Reddit, there'd be a ton of people like, wow, I opened this, like in the early days. Now that's really locked behind Spotlight, so there's none of that excitement from opening something and getting something crazy. So obviously you can still get Series 3 cards, but for a lot of people, right, they've passed that point, so it doesn't really matter. Next thing I want to talk about is the Spotlight system rotation, right? So this is just like what they choose to put in those spotlights, like what cards they choose, right? Like that's all determined by secondary, right? We don't really have an influence in that, right? So it can feel bad, right? Null's in their third rotation, where Howard hasn't been in any spotlights, I believe, so far. So like stuff like that, I do think Howard shouldn't be, right? Like to be fair, like Howard is not good, right? So it's fine, like technically it's fine for it, but like it shouldn't be the case. Like let's say someone really wanted that card, there's really no easy way to get it. Like getting 6,000 tokens or 3,000 tokens anyways is like kind of a difficult thing right now. So it's just like kind of weird that you're kind of like if Secondary says, oh, they don't want you to play this card, like you're just like, yeah, I guess I can't play it. So definitely a weird feeling, and I would say that one feels bad, as well as the spotlights are designed to have something interesting and also some things are not that appealing. So usually when I've done spotlight tier lists for every single release so far, right, and there always seems to be like, oh, okay, so this new card is next to a really good card and a subpar card. That seems to be like the idea here. Like they're not bad cards, but they're cards like you wouldn't actively go into a spotlight for, right? And it's kind of like to fill in the system, and you have to showcase all the cards, so they have to go somewhere. But sometimes it's like, you want to skip it, but because it's like a super important card like Mobius or something, then you're like, okay, I'll maybe look into it. So it's like, I wouldn't say that's the greatest feeling. So that's just a feeling take, and that's definitely something that I've noticed. Next up, I want to talk about like Conquest stuff. I'll say Conquest Proving Grounds feels good. Obviously, there's some people that don't snap turn 1 in Conquest, but I would say like that's not that common. I would say a lot of people, if you snap turn 1, will follow you. So it's generally fun. I think Proving Ground being a place to play deck freely, there's no downside for losing, and rewards can be gotten with some effort in the other modes. I would say it's pretty good, and just the rewards are not important enough that they must be complete. I think that's also a good thing, because some people just don't like Conquest. They don't like how long it is, right? And yeah, you can get like 200 gold, you can get like some credits, you can get a variant, but like these aren't like game changing things where you have to do them or you're flat out of luck, right? If you don't want to get the turn to go, like who cares? Like it's not the end of the world, right? So definitely think it's good for those who like Conquest, but even if you don't, like it's fine to skip, right? Same thing, right? So it's not enough that you're forced to play the mode if you don't like it, and it can be done in a day, usually like the last week or so, where the infinite opens up and you can just like if you can do well in infinite conquest or so, like that's enough by itself to get you all the rewards that you care about, like all the gold, all the credits, like that's all you need. So you don't have to like grind it for like 3 days or something like to get all the rewards. You can do it in a day if you do well. So it makes winning the harder modes rewarding, since winning it will let you get the rewards earlier. And then but it's still achievable if you're struggling to win. So even if you lose, you still get some reward for losing, which I think is helpful. I wouldn't mind the reward for losing being higher or being more, but whatever. Like generally, it's still fine as long as you're doing okay. You should be able to get the reward. So generally, I would say Conquest as a whole feels good. If you like the mode. If you don't like the mode, then you can skip it, which I think it also feels good that you can skip it and not care too much. Next up, I want to talk about the perma mute system. So this is something they added where if you mute a player, it'll just linger after the match, right? So you even if you play the player again, even like in ranked mode, they'll still be muted, which I think is just great. Like so players that are toxic, the mute, like if you mute them once, boom, they're gone. Like you don't have to worry about that. I think it's just a nice quality of life. A lot harder to see toxic players, since it'll just mute them. Works in Conquest, works in ranked. Just a really good change here. Now I want to talk about the new player experience. It's like the new player experience, 500 to 2,000 feels bad. This is something I get a lot where people are like, okay, I'm a new player. I started the game. I was doing really well. I was really happy. And then I went past a certain collection level. And now I'm getting destroyed nonstop by these super hard decks that I cannot beat. They have cards I've never seen before, and I don't have an answer. And then they're like, hey, Collins, what should I do? What's your advice? Here, and I just have to say, like, suck it up. Like you're gonna lose. Like that's the only thing. Like I like there's no real way to mitigate that like month and a half, 2 months of like suffering, since they're gonna have lots of cards you don't have access to early, and it's not like you can cheese it or get past it in a way without playing. You have to play. You have to do your dailies, right? So that part just sucks, right? So I'd say it just feels bad, and I don't like that I can't tell them there's something they can do to alleviate that. Like you just have to deal with that scenario. So that's just something that feels bad. Same thing with the knowledge requirements for this game. So I would say this game is not something like, as a new player, you can't really go in blindly and expect to like not make mistakes. I would say like it's very easy to waste your spotlight. It's very easy to waste your tokens. Very easy to waste your gold. You can't really waste your credits. Well, that's not true. You can also waste your credits. I turned that off. But yeah, it's so easy to waste your resources, right? And your resources are so core. So as a new player, if you're just going into this game blindly, like no, you're not getting any help from YouTube or anything like that, or stuff. It's just like very easy to make bad decisions, So you can put behind yourself progress with all the traps in the game. So you just have to research and know what you're doing well. And I would say that that feels bad. It'd be nice if the game like auto helps you to make good choices, but it doesn't. It's just like, here you go. Hopefully you don't mess up. Like, and that can feel bad. So it's just something I wanted to do. But overall, like, those are like some of the things I wanted to talk about. Obviously, not everything, and I'm sure there's like a huge list of things. But that, like, initially this video was just like, hey, I like the rank changes. That was the whole video. Hey, I like the rank changes. But then I decided to like cover more things, and not say like it ended up being like less full positive. That was my initial video, like full positive, less of that, and more of like, here's this things to improve but things that are doing well, right? Like the core game design's good, and I'm still invested in the game. Think the game feels better overall through some of the changes, but there's always things to improve on. So that's kind of the idea here. Just kind of some thoughts of, hey, this could be better. This could be better. This could be better. I don't love the complaining nature of gamers, right? Like, but I hear it. I hear it for myself, right? But that was my thoughts on this subject. Just some things that could, like, some things that are doing well, some things that could be improved, that kind of thing. Just want to make that type of video. So, what are your guys' thoughts? I guess don't hassle me. There's always the people that do that every video. But yeah, anyways, take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Educatedcollins snap. Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you tomorrow, snap. Your skills will be improving. How you do when you'll hit infinity and won't go back.